League Gaming channel on YouTube and the AHL PSN present a LeagueGaming.com exclusive presentation. In Season 1, we saw several surprises come playoff time. The finals came down to the upstart Condors and the giant-killing Wolfpack. Hartford eventually came away the champs in the inaugural season on PSN. This season, it's happening again. Lake Erie is proving to be a monster to the Wolves. The Condors are circling the rampage, and the Griffins have given the Ice Hogs the cold shoulder 2 games in a row. Tonight, the playoffs continue, and who knows what other surprises we will see this round. Buckle in tight. It's Game 3 in the first round of the AHL PSN playoffs. And hello again, everyone. T. Sims with you, V. Heim, Renaconda, and we have a special guest. You've heard him on the CHL broadcasts, and he's joining us tonight for the AHL playoffs, Mystic Mac as well. Gentlemen, how you guys doing tonight?
Pumped, Sibs. We are pumped, man. We're getting into the thick of it here. Game 3 coming up tonight. There's a couple actually getting off right about now, and we're going to be spinning around the league here and checking things out as they happen.
Well, what a fantastic show this is going to be. We have all live content that's going to be coming in. We'll be checking out these games and kind of seeing what's going on, talking about it, talk about the ton of stuff that's already happened, and also welcome in a fellow media team member here, Mystic Mac. What's going on, man?
Not much. Besides being nervous, I'm very excited to be with you guys tonight. It should be fun. I look forward to it, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Anytime, man.
Well, you know, guys, let's just get started. We've got games coming up tonight, and we know a few of them are about to start up. I know the Ice Hogs game is starting to gather up a little bit here, and so we'll talk about them a little bit. But before we get to the games that are actually playing tonight, let's talk about what we've seen so far, and let's start off right away with the big shock of the Ice Hogs being down 2-0 to the Griffins. That first game for the Ice Hogs, they played a couple of ECU guys. It was not one of their better lineups. Last night, though, they had their top guys. They had Riney. They had all their frontliners. They had their good defense, OSU Bucks back there, and yet the Griffins found a way to pull that one out.
Kraz was undefeated heading into last night on the year 20-0. And got his first loss of the season. Shiz Nasty was at center for them. They threw out the big guns last night, and the Griffins goalie came up with some huge saves there late in the game, especially in the last 2 minutes or so of the third period came up huge. What a game. I mean, the Griffins up 2-0. I mean, we said anything can happen. I don't think anybody saw this coming except for maybe the Griffins themselves might have believed it. I'm not sure, but, playoffs are here, and yet again another tale of teams not following procedure.
Well, we saw the same thing happen last year, with the Stockton Heat coming in as the best team in the West and, really struggling come playoff time. And, nothing's said and done here. We're only 2 games into the series, but that's a hell of a start for the Griffins. And, I mean, looking at the tail of the tape, you would look at it and say, now how in the world did they pull that one out? But you know what? They played defense, and they kept them to the outside. Their goalie stood on his head, and the Ice Hogs just couldn't get anything going in that game. And credit to their defense, credit to their goalie. That's a great job by them. The first game was kind of a shootout. It was back and forth. That was a highly entertaining game, and Game 2 did not disappoint as well. And who would have thought that the Griffins would be coming out of there with a 2-0 lead in that series? That is amazing playoff time hockey right there.
Mac, have you had a chance to look at any of these, any of the AHL games, or at least know some of the guys who may have been called up who are playing in the playoffs now?
I just wanted to point to that game last night between the Griffins and the Ice Hogs. The Griffins, with the inability to call Tater 316 up from the London Knights, I know him very well. He came on and was an ECU. I think it was a strategic move from the Griffins to use their TC game on Tater last night. and he came up with a big game, 2 points. I think he had an amazing game for the Griffins, and I think it was a very strategic move on their part, and it was amazing. I do have a couple notes just to get into couple notes here. Some AHL players that I know from the CHL that are now on main rosters. Vet 1 Marine July 5 for the Binghamton Sins. He was a late sign-up, but he is really amazing. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to play with him, but he is shut down. Looking for big things from him. Dion from the Ice Hogs. I know he lost the game last night, but he is a very solid defenseman that came from the Sarnia Sting. And one player that when I was doing my research last night that I had the pleasure to look into was ex IPASS scorer that was called up to the Chicago Wolves, who actually ties with Kev in the CHL for points in the CHL with 81 points. So he's another one to look out for.
Well, just to catch you up quickly, we've got an update so far. Rockford has taken an early 1-0 lead in this game, and as you're looking at the screen share right now, not the best quality, sorry, but Rockford was able to score early. I haven't gotten the scoring on that yet, but they are back on the power play now as we speak, and we'll check in with this game from time to time.
Look at the way they move the puck. I mean, they move the puck very well. Like, it's very tough to defend, but the Griffins are a defensive team. They've got a good defense in place, and we'll see what happens out there. Playing on the road now are the Ice Hogs. I mean, they dropped 2 at home, and ouch.
Yeah, I agree. Gonna be tough, but if there's a team that can pull it out, it's them. They've shown all year that they don't. If they get kicked down, they don't stay down for long, and they usually come back with a vengeance. And getting out to an early 1-0 lead there could be a precursor to that. You never know. I mean, so far 6 of the 8 series that we have started out 2-0. Penguins jumped out to a 2-0 lead against the Portland Pirates, who as we said, started out really strong this season and weren't really sure exactly how they were doing heading into the playoffs. Felt like they might have slowed down a little bit, but still a good team. They finished second. Mike and I were talking about that before we went on air. They lost 5-4. That's a close game. It's not like they got blown out, but also the Wolfpack went up 2-0. On the Phantoms. The Americans are up 2-0 on the Albany Devils. And the Binghamton Senators, another series that I don't want to say I'm shocked that they're up 2-0, but they're playing the Syracuse Crunch, and they're up 2-0 on the Syracuse Crunch. And that's an impressive series start there for NY Barris, Live by Sin, and the boys over there in Binghamton. And then, of course, you have the Griffins up 2-0 on the Hogs. The Wolves and the Monsters are 1-1, and I suspect we'll see, at the end of the night, 2-2, and then we'll see them 3-3 and head into a Game 7 as we predicted. I'm just kidding, vibes. And then the Condors and the Rampage are tied at 1, and then the Gulls have jumped out to a 2-0 series lead on the Barracuda. So, tonight is a big swing night with there being 2 games. Every team that's down 0-2 has a chance to go to sleep tonight having the series evened up. And then for the teams that are up 2-0, they have a chance going to sleep and not having a game until Sunday. So this is going to be a big night for hockey for sure.
Well, the Griffins were able to tie it up on a long shot from the blue line that caught the Ice Hawk goaltender unaware and slipped past him. So not a good one to give up there at that point.
Lake Erie Monsters just went up 2-0 in the second on Chicago.
Well, now, going to the Lake Erie Monsters in Chicago, we did have some controversy on Sunday night. Did you guys happen to catch the controversial no goal there that everybody was talking about across the league?
I haven't seen the video, but I did see a lot of the conversation going on. Can you explain kind of what happened for everybody?
Yeah, well, what happened? See, I had it wrong. I had it wrong from the get-go. I thought that the goal that they were showing was the game-winning goal, and that the Lake Erie Monsters were challenging that it shouldn't have been a goal. So I had it backwards the whole time, and it was actually a goal that was scored just before the end of the third period that would have given Chicago the game winner. But instead it ended up going into overtime, and Lake Erie ended up getting out with the win with an overtime goal in that one. What had happened, it was strange. The puck was down. It was off to the goalie's right, and it was almost literally, it was in between the bottom of the circle and the face-off dot itself. It was almost to the face-off dot, and the goalie went out for it, and he dove. And when he dove to cover the puck, he kind of bumped it, and he didn't get the puck covered, so he was stuck out easily at the bottom of the face-off circle, like I'm talking 10 to 12 feet out of his net, maybe more. And, in the scramble, a couple of the Wolves guys came over and they bumped him from behind, but, he's almost 15 feet out of his net. And they bumped him from behind, and, the goalie sat up and sat in the butterfly and sat right there at the bottom of the face-off circle. And one of the Wolves guys picked up the puck right about at the red line in the boards and flipped in an odd angle shot, and it went in, and the refs waved it off, no goal. And the Vibes and everybody were questioning it to see why that was considered no goal and if they could challenge it or not. But it ended up standing as a goal. The game had waved it off themselves, but that's kind of a tough little area there. Sibs, do you really know? What are your feelings on that? Did you happen to see any of that mess that went down in that game?
Well, I read about it like everybody else did, and as I was watching Rockford now go up 4-1 late in the first. Well, I saw I saw a lot of the messages that were going back and forth about that, and a lot of discussion as to whether or not something should be called. In the end, the game does what the game does, and you have to kind of go with that. And it was an unfortunate play, but at this point, I don't know what else you can do to remedy the situation, unless the league decides to go back and make a call on that. But it's unfortunate. It's a tough one to lose that way, and it's painful for a goaltender when you think you're making the right move here, and the game just lets everybody take a whack at you. So. It was a tough one, and I understand I understand Vibes thoughts on it and everything, but in the end, I don't know how much jurisdiction the league wants to have to overturn something like that and go back and play however much time there is, or replay the overtime or something.
Right, and the
tough
league.
Call.
Yeah, and in the rules, a lot of people, we had made this mistake early in our careers as well. That rule, there is actually a rule in the rule book that talks about goalie interference, and a lot of people may read it the wrong way, but it was explained to me by the Boggs as, it's not really a rule in the book to challenge whether or not a goal was a goal. It's basically a rule in the book to challenge whether or not a goalie is purposefully coming out of his crease to draw a goaltender interference penalty on the skaters. It's not there to challenge goals, whether they're good or not. It's strictly to keep the goalies from playing, shady hockey, for lack of a better term, and going out and forcing goaltender interference calls.
Just quickly, you can keep going. I was just going to say, I'm going to put this this Wolves Lake Erie game up on my screen share. They are at 4-3 Lake Erie at second intermission. It was 2-0 at the beginning of the second. They've made it 4-3. A lot of goal scoring going on in this game.
Right now, Hartford and the Phantoms are 0-0. 4 minutes left to go in the first. With Hartford on a 5-on-3 right now and threatening the score. And that one's been an interesting one. Hartford has obviously played well. The Phantoms have a solid team, and we talked about that in the preview, how they certainly have a chance to do something, and they played well towards the end, but again, the Wolfpack have come back again this season, although they were not a surprise because everyone knew the talent they had, but they are prepared for the post, and they are so far delivering.
Absolutely. They've got a great team over there. Beefy did a really good job. But, that being said, the Phantoms have been right there in it. They've been right there in it in both of the games so far. The first game was it looked a little bit worse than it was. I watched that entire game, and the Phantoms were right there. They were right there until the very end. Those extra goals came kind of late in that game. It was a back and forth game, and the Phantoms were right in it. And then last night they took them to overtime. So they're right there on the cusp. And that could turn out to be a tight series. We'll see what happens tonight.
Phantoms had jumped down to a 1-0 lead, but Hartford has just tied it up with 11 seconds left to go in the first. So, again, that one's going to be a close one. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk to Mac about the CHL and how the end of the season wound up, and what you expected to see in the playoffs, because we had this in season one we had a lot of folks from the AHL who, we thought these certain teams were definitely going to be in the cup, and in the end, it wound up being a total shocker, a lot of upsets. What kind of playoffs do you foresee in the CHL this year?
Honestly, the CHL coming down to the stretch was very, very interesting with the trade deadline. Our top team, the Ottawa 67s, they made a lot of questionable moves towards the end of at the end of the trade deadline, and they finished the season 10-8. Right now, they're leading their series 2-1. They lost earlier today, so that's kind of like our team right there that people had their eye on, that could really let their people that follow them down in these playoffs. Our series to watch right now in the playoffs has got to be Kingston and London. The reason why it's so interesting to watch is because all season long they've had bad blood between the two of them, chirping back and forth in the chat box. It couldn't have happened any better that they got each other in the first round. Another thing that I really enjoy is I put up the like a March Madness type playoff bracket for the CHL for people to join in. Mm-hmm. Out of everybody who submitted a bracket, nobody had Hamilton making it out of the first round. They always had the North Bay beating Hamilton in 5 and 4, and even had North Bay even winning the Memorial Cup. But with the exception of earlier today, Hamilton's been all over them. So that's been another shocker for us. And the other series, Sarnia versus Oshawa, it's not a surprise. I pegged that in my predictions to be a sweep. Right now it's heading that way. But I think you're going to see some good hockey between the top teams. I don't think you'll see too many surprises, except keep your eye on Ottawa getting upset, either this series against Kitchener or next series.
Well, we might have had a little bit to do with the Ottawa 67's falter there towards the end of the season, as we ended up being the Ottawa 67's AHL affiliate. For most part of the season, and we did not do it on purpose. It just happened to be that we would make a move, and I'd look and I'd be like, oh my God, he's on the Ottawa 67s, and I'd look at our training camp roster. I was like, oh my God, we got their GM. We have we had 5 people from the Ottawa 67s in our training camp, 2 of which we brought up to the roster halfway through the season, and they really helped us with our push to try and squeeze into the playoffs there. But they are back down there with the 67s. We did send them back, and so they might be able to pull something together over there in Ottawa with those guys returning.
When you bow out early like we did, it's the least we can do for those guys.
That and Gatineau was, super professional about everything this season. Me,
When we stole his players, you mean?
yeah, I mean, I was sending him messages, and and we had a mutual respect back and forth between the two of us that I really, really appreciate. And he was super good about it, and especially because I mean, one of the guys we had was like his best friend. He'd known him for like all of his life, so he was really cool about it. I couldn't ask for a better GM or a better owner to deal with down there.
I agree. And as you can see on Sib's screen share, the Griffins have just scored another goal and made it 5-2 after Rockford scored. And on mine, you can see that the Lake Erie Monsters have taken a 5-3 lead with 4 minutes to go in the third period. So we'll see how these turn out.
Yeah, we'll talk about Lake Erie in a second, but just to go back to the 67s, I think we knew from early on, we were looking at a lot of the names on that team, and there were guys that we had seen and we had known, and it was amazing that that they had all that talent down there. We liked a lot of the guys that we saw down there, so since they got some of the guys back, since they got back some of the guys that we borrowed, if they can get the chemistry back, I think they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
they did get their guys back. But, man, and I want to touch on Gatineau for a second. Yes, he's such a great guy. I've been very critical of the Ottawa 67s in my coverage of the 67s, and he's been nothing but cool to me. Like, he hasn't chirped and got into the weeds of my analysis on the 67s. He's really a great guy. But my critical analysis is not the guys that they got back, but the guys that they let go for practically nothing. They got rid of 2 great scorers in HJHF and two-way hockey in the same trade for one defenseman, Primetime Sosa, who did not win a game for them, continued to get called up to the AHL, and it was a really questionable move, and they lost 2 great scorers who, by the way, are 2-0 against them this season. So since the trade. So, I mean, that's another thing on the 67.
Yeah, you don't want to let good scorers go, man. You really don't. At all. That's like the death of a team right there.
Yeah, that's ouch. Especially when the guy you got didn't win a game.
Yep. And I don't know the exact statistics on Primetime, but I'm sure I think he had like a negative 8 plus minus and 0 points for them as well in the games he played for them.
I was curious at the start of the season. I was like, how are they going to do it down there? They have 16 teams. Does everybody make the playoffs? I wasn't sure, like, if everyone was going to make it or if they were just going to do an 8. Did they, in fact, they just did an 8-team playoff, correct? 4 in each conference? Is that how they did it?
Yes, they did. And I actually liked how it worked out because, at first they were talking about making all 16 teams in the playoffs. So every team was kind of coasting, if you will. If you're around 9th or 10th, they're like, we'll make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But when Birthday made that decision to go eight teams, we had literally 2nd through 12th place within like 8 points of each other going into the final 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
Team, the Hamilton Bull, coming into the final week, and we needed to win our last game to make the playoffs. So it was really exciting coming down the stretch.
Nice. Oh, boy. What do we got going on here, gentlemen? It looks like, Portland and Wilkes-Barre are in a tight one.
3-0 Rochester. It's 3-0 Rochester at the end of 2. And that one's getting pulled up on my screen right now.
Mac, you looking at a certain game right now as well?
I'm covering the San Diego Gulls and the San Jose Barracuda, and the Gulls just scored a goal to make that game 4-2 midway of the third period.
4-2 who?
Gulls.
San Diego Gulls. My apologies.
Yeah, they've been handling the Barracuda a lot better. It's not a surprise, but I really expected a better makeup of this game. That first game was just a shootout, and it's been all goals for the most part. I think they've handled it. They've handled the series. They've had control of it, and I expected a little more out of San Jose, but it just hasn't quite shaped up for them yet. And solid goaltending all around in that series too. It was kind of a surprise that there was such a high-scoring game in that first one. And I expected more of a 2-1, 3-2 kind of effort pretty much every game. But playoffs, guys get ramped up for it sometimes, and you get those, you get these situations where the goaltenders get a little bit yippy and the forwards are flying and pucks are going everywhere. So I think it's not necessarily the same kind of game you go up against in the regular season.
Right. I do want to take a second to commend our playoff GMs right now, because out of the 8 games that are going right now, 6 of them are streamed and linked to the site, so we can access 6 of them through the site. I believe Barris has a goalie streaming that's not linked to the site, or maybe it's the Crunch. I can't remember which one. But 6 out of 8 is the best percentage we've had all season.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. Do we have a final over there with the Chicago and Lake Erie game? Did they finish up over there?
There's 22 seconds left to go. It's 6-2 Rockford. In that game, the Lake Erie game, I'm not sure. I haven't.
I believe that one's over.
Yeah, I think the Hartford Phantoms game is also finished. I believe I didn't get a final on that one though. But we're trying to get Beefy on now to talk with us. I don't know if he's got any invite. We'll keep on trying to get him. In the meantime, Rockford's about to at least get one up on the board and make it a 2-1 series.
Right. Yeah, I'm about to send this invite to Beefy.
Yeah, and San Diego just went up 5-2 as well, so it looks like they're going to clean up this game.
That offensive power that we were talking about in our playoff preview. We were talking about the Gulls have some serious scoring power over there, and they're definitely showing it tonight with putting up 5 goals on that Barracuda defense.
Well, what doesn't surprise me is that San Diego's defense has only allowed 2 goals to this point, but it does surprise me that San Jose's offense hasn't scored. It's San Diego goals we said had 3 probably better than average outstanding forwards.
Yeah.
But they're putting it together at the right time here. When I picked the Barracuda in 7 games, I also said this series could go really shortly one way or the other. You never know if a team gets on a roll. But, and you never know. There's teams that have come back from down 3. But looks like that one's getting ready to wrap up tonight if the Barracuda aren't careful. Albany just scored and are on a 5-on-3. Now they're just on a 5-on-4 power play. It's 4-1 Rochester with 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, as we're looking at the stats right now for Rockford, Rhino with the hat trick tonight and an assist, and so he said when I'm playing now, so there goes 3 games, so all I have to do is steal one. So he's starting to make good on his promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, they aren't going to go down easy. That's for sure. Like we said,
I mean, not at all.
The Griffins can't get too overconfident here, because this thing could be tied up in the blink of an eye here after tonight.
Absolutely. 100%. Like I said, every series that started tonight 2-0 has the possibility of either being over or tied at the end of the night.
Although we are going to give Rhino a bit of garbage tomorrow because he did miss a penalty shot tonight, so it could have been even worse. But no, he came back and he did what he said he was going to do, and he got his team back on the board now. So let's see, how the Griffins respond to that one, and are they going to feel like they need to do something different? I would keep to the game if I'm them. Yeah, I don't see any reason to change anything necessarily right now.
No, definitely not.
Looks like our first wave of games here is definitely finishing up. We know the Gulls got the what's that? It's 6-2 now over there, Mystic. Still keeping an eye on that one.
Yep, correct. I believe that is over now, though.
Is that a final? We got a final there. 6-2 with the Barracuda. Lake Erie Monsters took down the Wolves. The Ice Hogs took down the Griffins. The Wolfpack took down the Phantoms, and I'm still trying to get this Wilkes-Barre-Scranton game to come up. It was 1-0 Wilkes-Barre last I saw, and it's not pulling up now. Does anybody else have that game up over there?
Not yet, but I can go to it.
No, I know that the Phantoms and the Wolfpack have just started game 2, with the Phantoms up 1-0 so far.
Wait, what?
And a bunch of others going on.
Yeah.
Are you sure they started?
Unless they're playing a replay on their stream.
They could be replaying the stream.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, why not? If you're ready to roll, why not just get right back into it?
I was just wondering because of the scheduled times.
Right. But if you're ready to
by
roll...
the way, the Condors won their game 6-2, by the way.
Wow.
So that was the final.
So the Condors are up 2-1 in that series against Mooner and the Rampage. Interesting.
I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of 2-2s after tonight. It's there might be a couple that are a little, like the Gulls. You never know. We could see the end of that series come tonight, but I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of 2-2s.
Well, we're definitely not going to see the end of the Rockford series tonight, as they handled business in game 1, which is, it would have been interesting to see the Griffins come in and win that and go up 3-0, but it like we said, it is extremely tough to keep the top teams down for too long, and it wasn't even like they jumped out to a 2-0 lead with 2 games in one night. They won game 1, went to sleep, woke up the next day, went through a whole day thinking about it, and were able to win game 2. But it looks like Shiz and the guys have gotten their stuff back together and regrouped at least for one game, and hoping to have this series tied by the end of the night. There are a lot of interesting matchups, and now we're at the point where, Mike, I know last year we do our lines a little bit different than everybody. We don't really play the matchups. We trust all of our lines to roll through. But we're starting to, game 3, game 4, you kind of know who's going to be coming at you, because you know who's already played and how many people have to get games in still.
Absolutely. If you're paying attention, and if any good GM should definitely be paying attention to who they've played. It's here comes the strategy. I could see teams playing some of their weaker lines to begin series off. Just to see, get a feel for it. But that could put you down. We do just have a final between the Devils and the Americans. I believe that finished up 4-1 in Rochester's favor. So I believe they are up in that series 3-0.
It did.
It's going to get interesting now. We're getting into the thick of it, and this is where we saw teams make mistakes last season. Was right here at this point. Be sure you're following the rules, guys. Make sure you're reading those rules and knowing who you can put in your lineup for games 4, 5, 6, and 7. And
I will say this: I hate to go back to Rockford again, but I do have information that they will have an ECU tonight at left wing for game 2. CHL guy named Watery Dolphin that will make his debut tonight for the Ice Hogs.
There you go.
So that'll make it interesting.
That's a lot of ECUs being used by the Rockford Ice Hogs in the playoffs. I mean, this is the playoffs, guys. Come on, you can't be. It's playoff time.
This isn't the time to give up.
It's not the time to give up. The trophy isn't won in the regular season here.
Who cares about the President's Trophy? It's the Calder Cup that you're interested in. That's I don't envy Shiz in the sense that he had to use his 2 top ECUs in the very first game of the series, and you can only ECU each person 1 time per series.
And twice throughout the entire playoffs.
Right, and he burned 2 of them in game 1. Last night, I believe he used an ECU goalie, if I'm not mistaken. And game 4 going in, trying to get the series even, and he's got to use another ECU. All I would say is, like, I know things come up in your personal life and all that kind of stuff, and this is just a video game. However, it's just like work. You made a commitment to this, and if you're skipping the game because you feel like you have something better to do, that's not what you signed up for, and you're putting your GM in a bad situation. Don't miss the game if it's just because you have something you'd rather be doing, and I don't, unless you're getting stuck going to the hospital or something, I don't know why you'd rather do anything than play playoff
Man.
hockey after playing a full season.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I'm hoping that guys are that it's just something else. It's the summer. There are vacations going on. I get all that, but if you made the commitment and you're just not going because you decide you're going to go out with the boys that night, I just think it's a crappy way to treat that commitment that you made to the team. And again, it's not about the video game. It's really about the commitment that you're making to other people to be there. And if you can't live up to that, then don't play the league.
Well, those other people have made that commitment as well. They've showed up. They've taken time out of their schedules. They've said no to the wife or the kids probably a couple of times. And, you got to respect the fact that they went out of their way to show up for a game to play with you. You got to respect that and show the same respect for them.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how you could miss games to, I don't know. It's just crazy to me. It's playoffs, boys. Let's roll here.
Yeah. I mean, that's just players too, because, I mean, if you talk about just the average LG player versus how you were as a GM this year, Mike, like probably 10-1 in the amount of time that you put in compared to a lot of the regular players in this league. Not saying all of them. There's a lot of guys that do nothing but put time into this league. But as a manager, you're required to give up a lot more of that time, and it is extreme. I mean, it is extremely rare for a manager to ECU himself. He's always making sure that, well, these guys can only play, so I guess I'll play one game Sunday, one on Tuesday, and one on Thursday, because that's where I've got to squeeze myself in and make myself available, while everybody else just sets up their schedule for whatever day. We know you have lives outside of this. However, just especially give your manager as much heads up as you can. And in the playoffs, I mean, if you know you're going to be missing games in a series, tell him before the series so he can put you on the TC and bring that guy up and steady you so he doesn't waste the ECU games.
Yeah, it really is kind of a surprise. I mean, I understand Rockford. You've got to replace Claus, and that makes sense. And I know that Nasty was trying to do whatever he could to play these guys, scrimmage with them, figure out what the best match was going to be, and then rotate some guys around. But couple of ECUs in a game in the playoffs it seems odd to me. I don't remember really seeing that last season, guys. Maybe you can refresh my memory, but it seemed like guys were pretty committed to season one and being there for the playoffs. And then again, that's the middle of that's February, March, right? So, I mean, I understand it's a lot easier to get guys who are around that time of the year than July, going into the end of July to be in the playoffs. So that kind of makes sense, but again, it goes back to committing to the league. If you're going to commit to it, you have to commit to the whole time and block out that time and say, okay, if we make it all the way to the final game of the season, what does that take me out to, and just be there for it. And I'm hoping that that's not why, it's not dumb reasons why guys aren't showing up.
Sure, there's a solid mix of all of it. Good reasons, bad reasons, whatever. It makes it, I'll say this as a viewer, it makes it less interesting when you don't get the full squad out there playing. Like, last night the Griffins beat the Ice Hogs.
I want to beat the best.
They beat their top line, and that's how I want to see the Griffins beat the Hogs if they win. I don't want to see them beat the Ice Hogs.
Excuses. I don't want there to be excuses. Oh, exactly. We had ECUs. No way, man.
Nope, you should have been there. There's no excuse for that. Right. And who's to say your training camp guys aren't worthy? They just don't have chemistry with them. So, tough situation for some of these teams. Rockford's not the only one dealing with ECUs.
Oh, no.
But it's just it's not fun as a viewer to know that I'm not necessarily going to see the best out there. And if they lose, then now we're going to have to talk about, well, they only won because this guy didn't show up. Well, that's part of being a player. You got to be there.
Well,
So,
we have some seriously interesting stuff going here. That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Come on, GMs, get your stats put in.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, the thing that I don't get about the stats is, I noticed after the first night there was like 2 games that went almost 24 hours without getting their stats put in there, and I was like, man, I would be like chomping at the bit to put those in.
You don't want your playoff win?
Right? Yeah, I mean, if you what if you fall asleep when you get home from work? It
Yeah.
goes 24 hours. That's what I would be worrying about anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I hope that's something that we get in the future, where if you stream to the site, it'd be really cool that at least if the final score could be pulled from the stream so that the final would be up so everybody could see the final, and then you just fill in all the blanks after that.
That's kind of like what we do with Friday Night Puck, right? We throw the scores in right away, and I think if you can at least do that, then go back and fill them in later, that's fine, just so everyone knows what's going on with the playoffs. I think I said that in the chat box the other day. Just tell them to put up the finals. Yeah, just put up the finals and get them up there so we know what's going on.
Right. Well, especially coming down the stretch leading into the playoffs too, as well. It was, when people were scoreboard watching like crazy to see, who was picking up points and who was winning and who was losing. And, that was a serious scoreboard watch time.
Yeah. So today is okay. So we have some scores here. Binghamton beat the Crunch last night 7-3. So we have 3 scores from tonight that are input. The Hogs 6-2 over the Griffins. The Lake Erie Monsters ended up winning 7-3 over the Wolves. And of course the Condors beating the Rampage 6-2. I'm not sure whether or not it was Mooner or Tyler Loki in net on that one, but that's definitely not a number of goals that I would have expected to see coming up against the Rampage. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was Tyler, according to the stats. They're not fully in yet, but Tyler's listed as the goaltender who had 18 shots on goal, which is not unheard of. It's maybe a hair on the high side, but, we'd have to go back and take a closer look at the game to see what happened there. But
Condors
that's a lot
are hot.
Yeah.
Condors are hot. They came in hot, and, the Rampage are a team that I expect to be fighting for this thing all the way to the end. And they can't let this get out of hand tonight. They have to win this next game and make it 2-2 to end the night, or they could be looking at a long road to hoe here with the Condors, who just seem like anytime they see an opening, they jump right to it and fill the gap. So looking at these scores, it's kind of interesting. There's in the regular season, we saw 11-2 and 13-3 and 8-0 and 10-1, and we were part of a few of those games and stuff. And the Binghamton Senators last night beating the Crunch 7-3, 4-goal gap. The other games last night were 3-2, 5-4, 2-1, 3-2, 5-3, 5-4, 4-3. One goal games except for a 2-goal game.
That's hilarious, that you mentioned that, because I currently am over in the LGHL looking at the playoff standings over here, and as of last night, there were the entire Eastern Conference was all tied at 1-1. You got the Blue Jackets and Buffalo tied at 1-1. Florida and Tampa Bay, which is a series to keep an eye on right there. That's 2 of the best teams in the East going head-to-head. That's at 1-1. You got Washington and Montreal at 1-1. You got Carolina and Pittsburgh at 1-1. And then over in the Western,
Pittsburgh and Carolina is actually streaming on the site right now, and Pittsburgh's up 1-0 in Game 3.
And in the Western, you got the Oilers. They're up 2-0 over the Sharks. The Ducks are up 2-0 over the Canucks. And Nashville and Chicago are tied 1-1. And Dallas is out to a 2-0 lead over the Winnipeg Jets. Now, Dallas is a team to watch. I think they have superior offensive talent over there. I have some pretty good friends who play for that team, as well as Washington and Pittsburgh and Buffalo, and there's some pretty good offensive talent up there. And like you were saying, I'm looking right here. What brought me to this whole thing is I'm looking at the scores, and I see two scores right away. You got the San Jose Sharks Oilers game in which the Oilers took them down 10-0. And then you have the Pittsburgh-Carolina game in which Carolina took down Pittsburgh 11-2. So we haven't quite had any get that out of hand in the AHL yet, which is good to see. Means that we got some pretty tight series going here. And, our teams are very, very close.
Well, even our high-scoring game so far, I believe, was the Ice Hogs and Griffins game 1. The Ice Hogs with 2 ECUs put up 8 goals. Which would win you most games, but the Griffins put up 9.
Right.
So, but even there, 17 goals.
Game.
It was a 1-goal game. So, for me, it's nice to see it come down like that, where games are close, and makes it interesting. Tonight the 3 or 4 games we were showing across the broadcast in the first round. We had, I think they were all 4-goal games. No, Rochester won 4-1. So that was a 3-goal game. But the Monsters beat the Wolves 7-3, and Condors beat the Rampage 6-2, and the Griffins lost to the Ice Hogs 6-2 as well. So there's 3 4-goal separations right there, and a 3-goal separation. That's the most separation we've seen to this point in the playoffs on goal differential for sure.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of what I think you kind of see in the NHL too, is when playoff time comes, there is a virtual tighter grip on the stick, and you're so afraid of making mistakes, you're not taking a lot of chances, and so you're not typically seeing these unbalanced 7-6 kind of games. I think just because guys don't want to be the one who screwed up in such a short series. And I gotta imagine, like you said, we're seeing that in the NHL. I gotta imagine, Mac, in the CHL, it's a lot of the same. We've got guys who are playing in the playoffs, maybe the first time they've been on LG in this league, and they are, they're in the playoffs and they're trying to put their best foot forward their first time in this league, and they don't want to, they don't want to be the guys who make the errors on the ice to cost their team a game. The score's been pretty close so far in the first couple of games.
I'm glad you brought that up. We've concluded our games 3 and 4 for the CHL. We've had our first sweep, but 3 out of our 4 series are 2-2 right now, headed into tomorrow on Wednesday. So It's very tight, very, very tight. But like you said, with screwing up, we've had a lot of 2-2 series and everything else, and this is CHL. And I don't know how much the AHL GMs look at the CHL stats. Maybe if you've never heard of Mystic Mac, you might check my profile out. And this is, a lot of players' last chance to get something on their resume before scouting games start up for NHL 17 and beyond. So this is their last chance. So they really want to get this in, make a good, lasting impact on these AHL teams to maybe make the AHL next season.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
So I do want to take this. Okay, so Beefy, they must have had a disconnection on that. Keep an eye on that game there with the Wolfpack and Phantoms. Beefy was going to join us, but he said, "Hey man, just in second overtime." So keep an eye on that.
Lord, really?
Yeah. So that's what the stream is.
That's why I was in the first period again.
Right, they must have had a disconnect, and they still ended up going to overtime. That's why they had to restart.
I think they had a disconnect after the first 3 because now they are just starting, I guess, their second overtime now, and they just faced off on that one. We'll throw that up on the screen so you can take a look at it. But Yeah, I don't know what the score is right now, but obviously on a restart it's 1-1. So
Yeah.
we'll see how this one ends. But yeah, it's we're not going to get beefy for a little while. Apparently, that's why this
Yep.
game is still going on.
I can't believe he wouldn't drop what he's doing right now and come on the show. I think that's
I wouldn't
bullshit.
want to.
Oh,
I wouldn't
Hartford
want
just
to do
won.
those stats. That's for sure.
Hartford just won it.
And yeah, they're on a rebound, a poke back in past the goaltender, and the Hartford Wolfpack have taken this game, and so they are up. Is that 3-0 now on their series, I believe?
It is.
Did you see the replay?
Yep.
Good persistent play there to keep that keep the stick on the ice and keep whacking at the puck, and nice, just got it in there.
It's funny because I caught some flack from Beefy about picking the Phantoms to win 2 games in this series, and let's say that the Wolfpack finish things off tonight and sweep them. They went to overtime two times, and the Phantoms played really well. And if they get swept, it's going to look like they got destroyed in the series that they actually were really close in.
Right.
But what I was going to do a second ago, I just want to. Barris has been putting up a bunch of different media stuff up on the website, and he does a wonderful job writing. He put up this incredible piece today. About Vihai, the other guy that does media stuff. So go check that out when you get a minute.
Is that why it's an incredible piece?
Yes.
Oh man, it was hilarious. The last line in that thing had me rolling on the floor laughing, literally. Oh, that was classic.
Yeah,
That's happened.
The quote.
Yeah. What's made you laugh the hardest?
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped into my head.
Oh Lord, go read the story to find out.
and not just mine. He's done one with JLM. He's done one with Rhino.
Is that his Players Tribune that he's doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a fantastic idea.
He's got one. Not to kind of I don't want to throw out any of the things that are coming on, but I know some of the guys that he's got that are going to be coming out. It's going to be super interesting. Just gives you a chance to get inside of the head of some of these guys that you see around the league a lot, but don't really personally know or don't get a chance to see outside of just playing the game. So really cool idea there. But anyway, Vibe. There's your shout out. That's all I'm saying about him.
Well, Vibes is just being a meanie in the YouTube chat box as well, so.
Oh, is he? That doesn't surprise me. He wants to come on the air.
Maybe we should just put him on just so we don't have to hear him anymore.
I told him he could come on. I just didn't come up with a time yet. We got caught up doing more important things than talking to him. Him and I are kind of at war right now.
Oh, wow.
No, look, that's not a war anyone's going to win, really. There's going to be casualties everywhere, and you'll both be sorry.
It's so, yeah, let's send him an invite.
Well, that is really too bad as far, it reminds me a lot of our playoff run last season against the Utica Comets. Every game was a 1-goal game, and that's got to be.
We were in the lead in almost every one of those games too.
Yeah, I mean that's got to just be. I'd like to see the Phantoms push back a little bit here and pick up a couple of wins because they deserve it. They really battled to get into the playoffs this season, and they're playing them tough. They're playing them head-to-head. That first game, the score didn't do that game justice. I watched that game from start to finish. It was a very close game, and the Wolfpack just popped in a few right at the end there, and it ended up being I think it ended up being a 5-2 game, but it really was nowhere near that lopsided. It was a very, very close game, and the Phantoms are playing good right now. They're just not getting the bounces, and that's tough to do against a team like the Wolfpack.
Yeah, it sure is. Wolfpack are they're a shutdown team. They do have some highly offensive, talented guys on their team, but they are a defensive team, and if you let them get out to a lead, they'll shut you down. And if you're in a close game, they're not worried one bit about the fact that they can hold you off until they can get a goal. The Wolfpack are an extremely defensively sound team, and with guys like Jones and net and their decor over there. that General Patton, 8-goal week to end the season, and bunch of stuff like that the Wolfpack have. They're coming at you from all angles, and they're doing their best. It's taken them 2 overtimes to stop the Phantoms, but so far they've done a really good job of stifling them. And even though Phantoms have been in these games, all that matters is at the end of the game that you've scored 1 more goal than your opponent, and so far the Wolfpack have done that 3 times. So we'll see how that turns out here in a couple minutes when they go into Game 4 and everything's on the line.
We do have a final on the San Diego-San Jose game. It was the Gulls with a 6-2 victory in that one.
Another 4-point spread.
Yeah, so now that's a 3-0 lead for San Diego, and San Jose is going to need a miracle to get back into this.
Yep, and
I really think they are. The Gulls are firing on all cylinders right now, and that's not spelling good things for San Jose.
No, the Gulls were a team that at the beginning of the season I thought would go a long way and could possibly win this, and I thought the Barracuda were going to present an extremely tough matchup situation for them. So far, no problem, But anyway, looks like we have a guy fresh out of double overtime, sweating in his gear still, joining the broadcast here. What's going on, Beef?
Oh, I think I just grew a few new gray hairs, man. That was a stressful game.
Just age a couple of years, did you?
Oh, not gonna. A few of our guys saying they couldn't breathe. Hey, I'll tell you one thing. A big shout out to that Phantoms line, man. They, that we consider that our number 1 line, and we dominated them time on attack, but they were making plays on any mistake we made to make it a very close game.
They've made it a close series for you. You're up 3-0 right now, but have you gone to overtime 3 times or just the 2 times?
Twice now, yeah.
Twice, but they've taken you to overtime. You found a way to pull them out so far, but they're a scrappy little team right there.
Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a shout out to them because they claim that their first 2 games were their number 1 line there, but those guys that they just threw at us right there, tough line to play against. So
we were confused as to what was going on. We were like, wait a minute, did they start their stream over? What's
Oh yeah. They lost their center in the middle of the first intermission. So we had to restart it, but yeah, so the third period was actually OT, so it was intense. And then our goalie Lambers with 14 seconds on a breakaway saved us the game. So,
oh man.
So that's what you're paying the big bucks for, huh?
Well, that's right. It doesn't hurt to have goaltending like Lambers and Jones right now. So.
Yeah, let me just ask you that a little bit. Obviously, you got 2 good goaltenders here, without question, and Jones has had maybe a little bit more of a hotter hand. So how do you work these 2 guys into the lineup? Without saying what games you're starting everybody, what's your strategy? Like, are you trying to split time, or do you have a set way how you want to use these 2 goaltenders?
To be honest, as you guys are sure to be aware of, most goaltenders have a little bit of an ego. I had to deal with that with our goalie that was supposed to be our backup goalie, with Eddie throughout the season, and he ended up having forced me to trade him because he just he told me he wasn't a backup. So right now I have a way better situation with Jonesy and Lambers, but Lambers still wants that edge. So he's he makes the argument that he's been here since day 1, but he's also been committed to VG and only been giving me the minimum games per week, where Jones has made himself very available. So I have a very tough situation on my hand to keep both my 1A and 1 goalie happy, because right now they both want they're chomping at the bit to get the starts, and I'm doing my best to keep both of them happy, but I'm afraid down the stretch here when we start getting into these other teams that it could get a little bit stressful back there.
Right. Well, we were just talking about availability and stuff about probably 15, 20 minutes ago, and it's definitely a tough situation as a GM, especially when you get to the playoffs and you can't just play guys that are only available Wednesday, Thursday, or Sunday, Monday, or you have to play a specific number of games, and the games are on specific days, like one Sunday, one Monday, so we can't just squeeze you in for 2 on Sunday. Like, it's a tough situation, and, especially with goalies. I believe in a 7-game series, if you go 7, doesn't each goalie have to play at least 2? Like, your second goalie has to play 2 in 7?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing as the skaters. It's everybody has to play 1 game by game 4 and 2 games by game 6. Now the goalies obviously are allowed to play more than 3 games in the series, so those extra games are just distributed however you choose, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's...
So
Well,
in other words, Lambers could play 5 and Jones could play 2, but I'm trying to avoid that situation as good as I can. Like I said, Lambers, I was actually planning on starting Lambers in our game that's starting up right now, or starting Jones, sorry. And Lambers kind of messaged me and said he's got, like, personal vendettas on some of these players on the Phantom. So I let Jonesy know, and Jonesy was pretty cool about it. So far, so good in that situation. But like I said, goalie, you guys have all talked to Mooner. Goalies have egos, so.
Well, that's a good problem to have over there, Beef. I mean, you got 2 really good goaltenders that are chomping at the bit for playing time. I mean, you can't really ask for anything more.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I was kind of hoping, like, okay, Jones, like, I mean, let in 4 or 5, but we win 6-5 or 5-4, and make it easier for me to give Lambers the role, or Lambers, you let in 4 or 5 and won it. But right now, I mean, Jones let in 1 goal on 10 shots, and Lambers just stole us a game. So it's really, they're both not giving me anything to work with right now. So.
Well, that's as a GM, that's a good problem to have, and you're going to disappoint somebody every time you make a decision, because there's 2 people, and only one of them's going to get the nod. But it sounds like when you're doing that, the other guy's getting motivated to one-up him when he gets his chance to play. And honestly, when you're heading into long playoffs like you're starting right now, and hopefully get through this series tonight, you have the ability to do that here in the next 25 minutes or so. That's what you want, is 2 goaltenders, because you have to play them. So you don't really want to be put in a situation where you have 1 goaltender, and let's say that goalie plays games 1 and 2, and you set him for 3 and he plays game 4. The guy that plays game 3, you don't want to just be giving that game away, especially if you don't know that might be their 3rd line. You don't want it to be a throwaway game just because you don't have a second goalie that you can trust. So having 2 is a good problem to have for sure. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say exactly the way I feel about it. I mean, as well as the way I created my team is I wanted 3 competitive lines, right? I didn't want the really good line, the line that can play, and then the line that you throw out when you have to get the games in. And that's why actually, to be honest, I went in the chat and I seen that Phantoms had put their so-called first line out yesterday, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should match my second line. They haven't played yet, and I was actually, you know what, I'm going to leave complete faith in the third line to get her done. And I mean, they did. It was a hard game. We went to OT, but it's just the way the cookie crumbled for this series so far. So I mean, right now I'm throwing out my second lines. It's their first game of the series, and they're all amped up to close it out. And I'm not going to lie, I mean, I consider my line pretty defensive and two-way game, but these guys bring two-way game up to a new level. Like, this game will be very interesting to see how it turns out. If we're blown out, I would be shocked. I would predict another OT finish in this game for sure.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised either. It's been tough. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and let you get out of here so you can watch your team here, and we're going to bring in a new guy. Thank you so much for coming on, Beef. It's always great having you on, especially in the midst of the playoffs here, and the fact that we were able to catch you after a double OT game in Game 3. Nice win, man. It's stressful as hell when you get into playoffs and then you get overtime games and you know that your season rests possibly on the next goal.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me. Hopefully it's not the farewell coming up anytime soon. So.
No, if you keep playing the way you're playing, it won't be.
Right on, guys.
Cool. Have a good night, man.
Good luck, buddy.
You guys too. Thanks. Bye.
So I think we're gonna end the show here. I'm just kidding. What's going on, Vibes?
Yeah. What's up? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, unfortunately we can.
Yeah. Tony, you better behave yourself, all right? I've been nothing but nice to you, okay? Moran, Tony, how you guys doing?
Good.
How's it going,
All right. The other guy, too. What's your name again? I forgot.
Is there anybody you're not scrapping with right now in the AHL, or?
I don't know. It's kind of touch and go, Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. I don't know.
You guys are chalked in the middle of a scrappy series over there with the Lake Erie Monsters. How do you see things shaping up here?
I don't know. I think we're gonna tie it up, and then it's anybody's series, really. I didn't have to play tonight. I got the good players in there. I left myself out. So I got faith that they'll get it done, and I wasn't really too thrilled with the way game 3 went. I think we could have taken it, but hey, we don't make excuses. That's not what we do in hockey. So it is what it is, and
that's why it's a 7-game series.
That's why it's a 7-game series. How many games you playing this series?
I am watching.
Oh, you're watching.
Twice.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay,
yes,
that's
watching.
So Lake Erie, I think everyone knew Lake Erie was a scary team. They've been that way all year long. In the playoffs again, they're definitely one of those teams that we saw that we're looking at them and saying, hey, I don't think we want to play them in any round, and they're one of those teams that can be a first round scare to anyone. Have they lived up to expectations at this point right now, as far as how hard they're playing and what they're coming at you with?
Yeah, I mean they're a good team. They've like I said going in, they got all the offensive weapons, and now they seem to have maybe I mean this the right way. I don't mean this in a bad way, but they got a little bit of luck going on for them right now. But they're a talented bunch, and they're giving us all we can handle. And like you guys picked, you guys all said this was going to go pretty long. Some of you guys picked the right way, some of you didn't. But that's not really the debate right here.
This could go either way.
I'm just curious, Real Moran, growing up, what was it like growing up with this guy? Were you ever afraid he might stab you in the back or things like that? How did you go to sleep at night?
He lived 1,000 miles away from me, so that didn't happen.
Right. By request, I'm guessing. I don't know.
I probably would have went 1,001, but 1,000 that seems all right.
I like the term "real Moran."
Yeah, well, the Real Moran.
Wow.
We got Real Moran and Tony the Truth, and then the other guy.
Yeah. You get on here and like to have fun with this stuff as much as the next guy, and when you talk about other teams and their ability to win a series, I know you go in depth. You know a lot of these teams pretty well. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on how that Rockford series started? Now, they were able to steal a win back here, winning 6-2 in Game 3, but they went down 2-0 in their first line loss to the Griffins last night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a little, not responsible of me to say that Rockford was going to just sweep them out of the playoffs. But we all kind of went that way, and now the Griffins are kind of hanging around. They're making a series out of it. I still do think that Rockford, I mean, they're just too good. I think they're going to come back here. They'll probably tie it up tonight. And they'll have a game left. I'm not sure who they're sending in Game 4, but if it's one of their lesser lines, I'm not. Maybe you guys can check that out. They'll still have the Chiz line. They'll still have Rhino. For a game.
Rhino is playing Game 4, I believe. I was looking at the stream and he was jumping in, so it looks like he gets both games tonight.
Well, then I'm not sure, because they burn a game off Rhino, and Rhino can't play at a 7. And it's basically the Chiz line, and I know that they've been having some issues as far as ECUs and stuff. So, the Griffins could pull off what we all said they couldn't. It's possible. again, I don't take anything away from Rockford, and I still got to go with them, despite the fact that they may be down 2-1 right now and potentially even 3-1. But a team like that, I don't think you pick against a team like that until the series is over. You know what I mean?
I
Once
agree.
the series is over, then maybe you do. But until that point, I think you still got to respect them as the favorite. And I think Grand Rapids would be silly if they forgot that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Six. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, you're around for season one. You saw how things played out last year in the playoffs. What is it that that happens with some of these teams that have played strong all year long, and then they get in against a team that they should be handily, and they struggle? This happened a few times last year, obviously, in season one. What do you think happens in these situations? Is it matchups in a short series? Is it something else that's going on? Is it certain teams tightening up? I mean, what do you see it?
It's kind of like you said before. I was listening to the show before I came on, and kind of like you said that some of these guys may be gripping the virtual stick a little bit too tight. And it sounds silly being that it's a video game and everything like that. And you say, how do nerves and stuff come into play in a video game? It sounds, to some people stupid. But it's spot on. It's 100% accurate because, as you're gripping the controller and the hands, if you're a nervous guy, the palms may start to sweat a little bit. You may actually even lose control. Like you usually would. And sometimes, sometimes teams,
Finger twitches.
Yeah, no, it's true. It really is true. As silly as it sounds, it's really true.
I mean,
Sorry about my burst there.
How many times has somebody been playing and their finger twitches and oh man, I didn't mean to hit pass right there, or that stuff.
I mean, I had to get up and change my pants 3 times when I played because I soiled myself over and over again, and it's. Hey man, pressure does crazy things to people. Nerves,
absolutely.
They do crazy things to people.
Look at that.
Absolutely.
Is JL number 78?
I don't know.
His last name Pass?
He's number 1 in my eyes, but I don't know.
Is he playing center right now?
No, he's not.
Who's playing
no, that's
center
Blues.
right now?
That's iPass for my team. Yeah, it's
iPass.
Okay. Right. He just scored a brilliant goal there. Splitting the D to go up 2-1 here against Lake Erie. That was a really nice goal, and your team goal leader Fairman got the scoring going here in the second period.
Yeah.
Scored himself a goal.
Well, I'm actually trying not to watch. I'm trying to detach myself right now.
That's exactly.
Hang out with you guys,
For the season, I couldn't watch games anymore. I felt like I was cursing the team when I was watching.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah, I'm crazy like that, and I believe all that kooky shit. So But I don't even want to watch. I don't want to jinx them because I'm not too good at the game, so I don't know if I might be giving some of that off to them or whatever. I don't even know.
Talk about gripping the virtual stick a little tight. It's 2 minutes left to go in the first. Rockford and the Griffins, no score, no shots for the Griffins, 2 for Rockford. So.
Well, there you go again.
That's not what you expect from. Basically, it is the same. It's definitely the same front line, I believe, for Rockford, and I think the Griffins start the same guys on the shore.
Oh,
sorry, that was a sick goal there that was JL. JLM just made a nice 2 deep. He's playing right wing.
Yeah,
he's playing. Stick over to the right, stick over to the left, around the back, or around behind the net, wrap around to score 3-1 after 2. What a sick goal.
3-1 after 2. All right.
3-1 after 2. Yeah, these are tough because I 100% agree with what you said about the Griffins and teams like that. Not only should you not pick against the Ice Hogs until they're out of it, but just because the Griffins jumped out to a 2-game lead doesn't mean you should all of a sudden jump on the bandwagon and expect them to roll the rest of the way.
Absolutely not. And you know what? Honestly, sometimes, like I say, you got to respect the team. When a team's the favorite going into a series, there's a reason why they're the favorite. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They earned that.
They proved it over time.
Proved
Absolutely.
It all season. And they're the favorite for a reason. And the minute you lose sight of that, you get yourself into trouble. And that's why I'm still going with Rockford. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, the Griffins may be up, but I fully expect Rockford to come back. And I'm honestly pulling for them, to be perfectly honest with you, because in the event that we do end up getting past Lake Erie, I would really relish the thought of playing
Yeah,
Rockford.
exactly what we were talking about
It's
earlier.
the matchup we've been waiting for all season, really. Is a
It's what I
7-game
want.
series with you two.
It's what I want. It's absolutely what I want.
To be the best, you got to beat the best, right,
That's
Vibes?
right.
I mean, you
That's
want to
right.
go through the best teams to get
Yeah.
that cup.
Yeah,
Period.
because you don't want anyone to say, well, yeah, sure, you won, but
Exactly.
you never matched up against this team. No, I mean,
Exactly.
maybe when I
No
was younger,
excuses.
when I was younger, sure, I would have went that route. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Right.
sure, cool. But as you get older, you
Path
start to
of least
realize that
resistance.
there's honor in this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even if it's a video game, you know what I mean? There's a
Right.
certain honor and respect, and you got to carry that moving forward wherever you go. You know what I mean? And that's
Right.
just you want to beat the best. You know?
Well, same thing with the Griffins and Rock and Ice Hogs is, you know, if the Ice Hogs are going to lose to the Griffins, you want it to be because their full lineup was there, not because it was a bunch of
Yeah.
training camp
Yeah,
ECUs.
I mean, I'll
You know,
even, I have nothing to do with Rockford, but I'll even say to the Rockford players, stop hanging chiz out to dry, man. Like
Yeah.
if you can make these games, get out there and make them. If you can't, I
Seriously.
understand, you know what I mean, but make sure you can't.
Right.
Make sure it's not that you don't wanna, or if you can make the games, make them. Stop hanging them out to dry. Get out there and
Absolutely.
try and whip somebody's ass, please.
Without question, man. I could not
there's a
agree with you more on that topic.
No.
Because
there's
we
a
all know,
thousand.
we've seen what's going on, and it's just not. I don't think it's very.
Yeah, no,
Very.
he's getting the shit into the stick, and you know what? I mean, that kind of happened to me last season with my guys. A lot of my guys sort of disappeared come playoff time, and it puts whoever's running the team, whoever's putting the lines together, it puts them in a really bad spot, and it's a shitty situation.
Well, and
I
the
agree.
guys that do show up, it breaks up their chemistry because you're splitting them up
Absolutely.
to play them on different lines because
Yeah.
you need to make sure you have a solid guy on each line, and
Yeah, chemistry is
it's
huge.
it is. Preferably you want guys that have been playing together for at least 5 or 6 weeks minimum, if not all year, when you get to playoffs, so they're familiar, and the only
Yeah.
thing they have to worry about is the other team, not what is my teammate about to do with this
Right.
puck.
Yeah.
So I agree with all of that. That it's really frustrating, and there's a commitment that you made to be in this league,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
Shiz took over an already difficult situation with J Claus getting removed, and to have guys that aren't showing up and things like that. It's not.
9
He's
weeks.
dealing with it. He's handling it. And he's
Yeah.
not complaining about it. But it's a tough situation to be in, and it's not fair. You have 1,500 guys out of the 2,500 that signed up for PlayStation that are probably paying attention to what's happening, especially with that team as good as they were in the regular season. And for them to go out, if they go out like this because guys didn't show up and stuff, that would be horrible.
Right.
Hey, just a couple of updates. Obviously, the Wolves and Lake Erie tied at 3, 7 minutes left to go. San Antonio and the Condors tied at 2 now going into the third period. The Condors tying that one up late in the second. San Diego is up 3-0 now, 6.5 minutes left to go in the second, and looking to close out that series. And let's see, what else do we have going on? The Griffins are up 1-0 right now, 11.5 left to go in the second period.
Oh.
And
Wow.
they may. That's one game to watch to see where that's going.
Yeah.
Chicago
But,
just scored to take a 4-3 lead with 5 minutes left in the third period here. This is a seesaw
did.
back and forth.
You see the real Moran. He's always he's great, man. He's always got the best.
That was friend of the show and Hershey Bears Fairman, C. Fairman 7 with
Was
the
it
goal.
Fairman?
Yeah.
Oh boy, Fairman.
Well, I tell you what, he fit into your team. He slotted in, and it seemed like he was there the whole year. Vibes. He's just been amazing for you guys. He's just been amazing for you
Not away,
guys.
boys.
Yeah, well, he's an extended bear, I guess.
Oh, he was
At
with
least you
us.
guys you kind of have a horse in the race, sort of.
He's
in a way.
just another, he's just another player that solidifies the link between the two teams, man. The
That's
pipeline.
right.
He also just drew a penalty in which got the puck down to JL, who scored to go up by 2. With 2:10 left in the third, Chicago is up 5-3.
All right, you know what? You guys are way too good with the updates. You guys are way too Johnny on the spot, and you're starting to make me nervous.
You got this one all wrapped up, man. Don't worry about
Oh God! You're still 1,000 miles away from him. Come on, get him.
You're 2,000 miles away from me, but
Rockford
thanks
has
to the
tied it
internet,
up,
you're right there.
1-1.
Yeah, keep an
Boy,
eye on
there
Rockford.
is-
I'll tell you what. Listen, if Rockford drops this one, I don't think they will, but if they do, they're in trouble.
Yes,
Then I
agree.
will say. Then I will
agree.
say they're in trouble.
I
But
agree. They
I
are
don't
in
think they're
trouble.
going to drop it. I don't think they will.
It sounded to me the way Rhino was talking about it in the chat box that he was going to play 3 in a row. So I don't know if that was.
That's illegal. So.
Well, if you can play 2 in the first 4, right?
Right. No.
And-
yeah, you can play up to 2 in the first 4. Yeah.
Right, and this would be game 4 they're playing now. That this would be a second game.
They
So
would
if
have
you-
to go 7.
But
for
there's a
that
2 and 6 limit too, so you can't play like 3, 4, and 5. That's illegal.
Okay.
Correct.
So then I guess he's just gonna. All right. So that's right.
And if you're
So
listening,
they're,
Rockford, do not do that because we don't want you kicked out of the playoffs because you had a
Right.
roster
Yeah,
violation.
please don't.
do
If you
that.
guys are confused with the rules or anything, come to me. I'll help you out because I'm trying to get you to the second round. Because God forbid, not God forbid, but in the event that we do get past Lake Erie, I want you guys there. So if you're confused about anything, come look me up. I'll help you out.
Well, we did have some issues last year, didn't we? So we really
Yeah,
would
we
not
did.
like to repeat that.
We did.
Lehigh
I mean,
Valley.
we had Providence drop, and I mean they were an excellent team. I think.
Syracuse or not? Utica. Utica had issues with that as well.
Yeah, well, a few of them, yeah.
Yeah.
A few of 'em.
Condors have just taken a 3-2
Oh.
lead with 10:49 left to go.
Lehigh Valley Phantoms just took a 4-3 lead with 5 minutes left in the third period. They were down by 1 goal a minute and a half ago, and now
All
they're
right.
up by 1.
Even vibes won't think this is bad to say. There's 6 seconds left, up by 2 goals. The Wolves are going to tie this series at 2, win this game 5-3. Game is over.
It is a final now.
It is a
Good-
final.
Is that
Good
official?
job,
It
It's
is
vibes.
official.
buddy.
I told you we were going to tie that fucking series. Didn't I tell you? I told you. You sure it's over, right? You positive?
That's
Yeah.
game over.
I
5-3.
guaranteed you we were going to tie that series up.
Huge game by your top line
Watch the
wingers
F-bombs.
there. That's oh, it's all right. It's all right. We're all adults here. It's past
Oh.
the kiddies' bedtime.
The Wolfpack just tied it up with 4 minutes to go. Boy,
I'm
that
very
is a back and
interested in
forth
this
game.
Rockford Griffins game. Griffins lose 6-2 in that first game, and it doesn't look like it shook them too bad because they're hanging in there 1-1 in the third here against the Ice Hogs. That's it's really tough. I don't like to see a team get rattled by let's say Rockford was supposed to win game 3 and they did it 6-2. You don't want that to then become the steamroll either for our sake as viewers. You don't want to just see Rockford win the next 3 games 10-0. I'm sure they do, and I would too if I was on that team. But for me, I love that it's getting interesting like this. 1-1 in the third. That's great. Sibs, do you have any updates for the Americans and the Devils, or what happened
No, I
in
don't.
their second game?
I don't think I have anything on that right now. Let me take a look.
Yeah, they don't have that one up on the site.
Wilkes-Barre
can't-
Scranton did go up 3-0 in their series. They won 3-1 over the Pirates, so they're looking at a sweep of the second seed of the Wolfpack division. Are we in the Atlantic?
Yes.
Is that the Atlantic division? Looking at a number 2 seed getting swept by a team that was fighting for their playoff lives coming up to game 82.
Yeah, that's interesting. That would be very, very unexpected if that happens. But then again, I like I said, I think Portland was having a little bit of a tough time down the stretch. They started off the season very well and, had some rough games down the stretch, but they are a very good team. And I could very well see that game
Hey,
that being a big swing.
Mystic, you still there, bud? I know he's on.
Yeah, I am.
You,
I'm here.
You got any updates on some of the games? You watching any of them?
I actually am not. I'm kind of like crying in my corner because Vibes is kind of mean to me, bro.
Oh.
You? What did I do to you?
I'm called the other guy.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you're not
Oh,
the guy.
no,
You
no,
No,
actually
that
no,
was me.
no, no.
That was me.
He was
And I was
talking about
monitoring.
VI.
And I was monitoring the YouTube chat, and he told me to shut up. So
Wolfpack and
Well, no,
Phantoms
see,
are.
I think there's a little miscommunication there because I was under the impression you were VHI.
Oh.
VHI's the other guy. You
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
have a name.
Here's what you have to remember, Mac. You don't take anything Vibe says seriously.
Yeah, don't.
His own
I'm
team
messing.
doesn't even,
I'm
so.
messing.
Yeah.
Wolfpack and Phantoms going to overtime for a third game in 4 games.
Now I will say this though. Didn't I say to look out for iPass score? I did hear you guys say his name.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
did.
told you to look out for him. He's a
He
solid
scored a
player.
beautiful go-ahead goal in the second period to make
Yes,
it
he
2-1
did.
for the Wolves.
Yeah, well, he was a bit of a, a kind of a secret weapon of sorts for us coming into the playoffs. We knew we had him down there, and we were looking to bring him up the whole time. He probably would have came up a lot earlier, but it just didn't work out. He was trying to get his CHL team going, so.
We got Rockford up 3-1 now with 6 minutes left to go. We know the other game is going into overtime, I believe, but we'll throw this one up on the screen right now. We'll see where that Hartford Phantoms games go.
Yeah,
See if
it's
I-
shaping up to be a tied series there very shortly.
Yeah, and any second, the Wolfpack could be the first team here to advance. Or the Phantoms could extend the series and make them think about it overnight, which would, from our standpoint, be really cool.
That would be a sweep, right? If they.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I hate
Another overtime game in that
Yeah.
series. Like, can the Phantoms buy a bounce here, EA Sports? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Bakersfield with a 3-2 win over San Antonio.
Wow.
24 shots on goal. Look at that. Against 7 for the Rampage. You're
Oh,
not going to
man.
win many games doing that.
No, you're not.
And whoever and if that was Mooner in goal, I feel bad for him because that is just not a that's not a winnable situation when it gets to something like that.
No. He gave up 1 goal on every 8 shots, faced 24 shots, gave up 3 goals, and his team scored 2 on 7. You got to figure if they would have gotten a handful of more shots, they would have gotten a goal or 2 more based on their scoring rate.
Man.
All right, guys, I'm probably going to get on out of here. Leave the rest of the show to the professionals.
Sounds good vibes.
You guys
Always
There's not
a
much
enjoy.
rest of
pleasure.
the show.
Yeah,
anyway.
Bill Moran,
No.
Tony, pleasure. Mystic, pleasure.
So
not
I'm a
so much,
professional?
but, you know.
It's always having a
Yep.
pleasure having you on, Vibes.
Thanks for
sure,
having
man.
me, guys.
That
That was the Vibes Volcano brought to you by LG.
You gotta tell. You gotta listen. You gotta start promoting my show here for next season. You gotta start getting me out there.
I'm going to.
I'm
I'm
relying
going
on you. Yeah.
Providing we get that past LG somehow. Maybe we'll try and do something.
Well, here's the thing. I'll be honest. I don't have a lot to say when I can't curse. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's kind of the New York thing, I guess.
Yep.
But it's actually a sign. They say that's a sign of a lack of vocabulary.
Right.
It's kind of insulting, but
Well,
I don't know.
if I went to, I don't know what part of New York you grew up in, but the Long Island school system was not that great where I live. So that's why I referred to.
Yeah.
What a save! I tell you, this Phantoms and Wolfpack game is insanity.
All right, boys. I'll see you later. Great
Take it
show.
easy, bud.
Thank you,
Sounds good,
Vibes.
Vibes.
And
Later, guys.
all serious,
Appreciate it,
thank you
brother.
for coming on.
Rockford now wrapping this one up. 20 seconds to go. They just scored their 5th goal. They're going to bring this series 2-2 and beat the Griffins 2 in a row to make that back to an even series.
Boy, I
And,
tell you, Beefy put a link up in the shout box for anybody that is listening to us. Oh, and there it is. Never mind. Series over in favor of the Wolfpack. They were really hammering it on. They had them pinned in their own end. They were cycling like crazy. They were getting shot after shot. Phantom's goalie was standing on his head.
Well, here's
And
something you don't see every day.
They finally just got it.
2 goalie fight.
Yeah, apparently
Or a goalie
this one
fight.
is going to end, and and I'm not sure which ones these are. That this may be
Well, the
Yeah,
Gulls have a chance to wrap it up right here. So.
Yeah, that's Maddock, and I don't know if that's Perk, but that's definitely Maddock on the other
It is.
side.
It's Perkins. Wouldn't it be Perkins Pancake House?
Perkosaurus, yeah, Perkins Pancake House. So yeah, he winds up winning the goalie fight, but unfortunately his team is going to wind up losing the war after this one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's going to be a quick 4 and out for them.
What's the score in this one?
We'll get to that as soon as they show it to us. I'm not sure. I thought they were up by a couple. But, yeah, I like San Jose all year long. This team had a lot of guts, but, San Diego is just too much. And you know what? Whatever Rockford does or anybody else does, and it's going to be a 7-3 final, whatever anyone else does in the West, San Diego has as good of a chance as anybody else to be in that final game, that final series.
I absolutely think so. They've silently been the team that hasn't been changing things. They've kept it steady the entire season. They play as a team, and I think that they're setting themselves up for a very nice run in the playoffs here.
So looks like. So what do we got here for a couple of the finals anyway? The Wolves tied their series with the Lake Erie Monsters 2-2, as I predicted. It'll be 3-3 at the end of 6 games. The Ice Hogs took care of business tonight, tied up their series 2-2 with the Griffins. The Wolfpack have cleaned house and swept the Phantoms right out of the playoffs in 3 overtime games.
4 games.
Wow.
That's exactly what happened to us last season. That's the toughest way to lose.
Phantoms, great season, guys.
Golden Dreams.
We definitely know how it feels. That's exactly what happened to us last season, and you were right there on the cusp. You made the playoffs. You put it together towards the end of the season, and my hat's off to you guys. That was a hell of a series. Yeah, it was 4-0, but those games were all super close and could have went either way. So hats off to you boys.
Based on that, they really could have swept the Wolfpack 4-0.
It could be 3-1 right now, easily. It could very easily be 3-1 Phantoms right now, but just sometimes you don't get the bounces, and that's really unfortunate.
Beefy said the same thing. He said
it's very fortunate for
the Wolfpack. Beefy said great series, and he said it could have been 3-1 series lead for you guys. So, just game inches, bounces.
Yeah, it's I don't think anyone's shocked about the Rockford series, but certainly the Phantoms, definitely are a team that could have surprised anybody in the East Finals, in the East playoffs. But they, again, when you lose by overtime, it's just it's extremely painful. And as you said, the way the series went, certainly you had to watch the games to really know how it really went. And Hartford playing well at the end, just a solid team up and down. And the Phantoms gave them everything they had, and those guys should not go away at all feeling like they let someone down or they didn't put everything into it. They did what they had to, and just wasn't enough against the Wolfpack.
So Albany and Rochester in Game 4 right now are tied at 2 in overtime. I do not... Let me go to my Twitch real quick and see if I don't know if Ryan's playing in that game, but he usually streams, and I'm following him on Twitch. They don't have a link on the broadcast to their game, or on the site to their game. So let me check that real quick.
Mac, have you seen any other guys in these playoffs? Anybody else from the CHL that you've seen come up that obviously Watery Dolphin got to play in the game tonight. And got his first appearance. But anybody else of note that we may have missed that were CHL players most of the season?
A guy that I did miss that I want to touch on is a defenseman from the London Knights who was really late called up, like super late called up to the Condors. His name is Zefster. He played last night for the Condors in a victory. He had he posted up 2 assists in that game, had a plus-minus of +2. And as far as I know, talking to Zester last night that they're going to keep him on that main roster as well. So throughout the playoffs, if Condors seem to get past the Rampage, I'm pretty sure that series is 2-2 now after Game 2 of the Rampage and Condors. He's a guy to look out for on the defense. He plays really solid D. So Zester is my guy that I definitely left out that I shouldn't have.
Well, I don't know if the Roch game just went final or not, but it looked like they were heading back to the dressing room.
Well, it's so a couple of series have finished tonight. A couple of them are now where we expected them to be, or at least closer to what we expected. And some of the Cinderella of what we saw with the Griffins is some of that shine has come off a little bit tonight. But again, it's going to be line matchups, and we'll see what the Griffins are going to throw at them the next couple of games, and whether or not they can stay in this, or have the Ice Hogs found, some mojo going here. Obviously these guys who played tonight, Rhino and Blues, they've played 2 games now, so we're not going to see them for a little while. Like you guys said earlier, Chiz has done whatever he could to keep this team together and be ready for the playoffs. But you lose one guy, it may just be one guy, but it's not just about Claus, it's about the makeup of all the lines now, right? So has to be some maneuvering of these guys and who's going to match up with who, and it's almost like starting training camp again and getting these guys used to each other. And maybe that's kind of a little bit of what Rockford has been up against in this series.
Very well could be, but I think personally, losing a guy like Claus is huge. He was the glue that held that team together. People definitely respected him as a player, and they knew him. He was the guy that brought them in. So I think that's a huge blow to the team to lose a guy like Claus, and I think you're right. It's chaos over there right now, and but there's a lot of skill over there as well. So the cream could definitely rise to the top here, and they could seriously get it going. But I think it's very big losing a guy like Claus. He people respected him, and they showed up for games when he told them to show up for games, and stuff like that may be tearing them apart a little bit right now.
And he was available.
By the way,
go ahead.
I want to correct my mistake. The Condors is up 3-1 in that series. That is my bad. I take fault for that.
Oh, it's all
the
good.
Condors is actually up 3-1, so that's my bad.
Well, in the Rampage are a team that we saw all year long being pretty consistent, and we said with that goaltending tandem of Tyler and Mooner, we thought that was going to be something that the Condors were going to have a hard time trying to beat. But the key to any goaltender, and I don't care how good he is how many shots you're going to get on him. And look, Vihai Moranaconda, we talked about this with our own team how many times this year. Getting the puck on the net is incredibly important. I don't care how good or how bad the shot is that you think it is. Mooner had to go against, what was it, 24 shots we said, or something, maybe a little more than that?
24 to 7.
Yeah,
7 shots ain't going to do it.
Yeah, you're not 7 shots isn't going to do it, and letting your goaltender get peppered 24 times isn't going to help either. So, it's both things for them in this game, but certainly if a team is getting shot after shot on you, that starts scrambling everybody in front of the goaltender. That starts making the goaltender think, okay, I don't know if I can stay right where I am. I'm going to have to be a little bit more mobile. He winds up being a little too mobile. You know what I'm saying? It's a domino effect of what happens when a shot is taken on a goaltender on a constant basis, and you have to worry about that as a goaltender, and then everybody else has to worry about it, and you get guys chasing pucks. Before you know it, you've got 24 shots on goal and a multitude of goals against you.
especially in overtime. I mean, EA loves the garbage goal when it comes to overtime, and it seems like that's all that's ever scored in overtime in this game, really. So the name of the game is to get the puck to the net in overtime. If you find yourself in overtime in the playoffs here, get the puck to the net at all costs, because as many of you have seen, pretty goals don't really exist in overtime. Goalie's going to save it. It's going to go off the post. It's going to miss the net. And those garbage goals that go off 2-3 different legs and they're banged in on the doorstep, those are the ones that win games for you and win series for you.
Right. Well, you're watching an OT game right now with Rochester and Albany. They had a disconnect and restarted, so it says it's in the first period, but they're actually in overtime right now. So we'll see what their overtime strategies are here, if they're gonna try and set something up, or if they're going to just be getting in and firing pucks at the net. We'll see how the defense hangs up. GM for the Devils, Yee Dipper, is playing center for them right now. Rochester just took a penalty, so Albany's got the power play. This is big. This is for the season right here for Albany. If they lose this game, they're done.
Yeah, that's we shall see what happens. I don't see. I don't know. That's a tight. Overtime's just nerve-wracking. It makes me sweat just thinking about it right now.
Yeah, I am much.
Someone's
happier.
gripping the virtual stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Without question.
I mean,
I really do think that's real, guys. I mean, I really
Absolutely.
oh, it is 100% because I do it.
I absolutely believe it. 100%.
I can
question.
verify from personal research that it is 100% true.
Oh, there's a trip.
Yep, and when you're playing games like this, it's extremely stressful. You don't know what's going to happen. There's a huge save by San Jose off the draw there, but you don't know what's going to happen, and your mind naturally starts going to all the things that could happen bad against you, and you've got to kind of force that out of your mind and think about what you're going to do. And the team that does that better will usually come out on top. And Rochester just killed off a big penalty, and now they got one back here, so it's a 4-on-4. But I don't know, when you look at teams like Rochester versus Albany, and I said that this series was going to be a sweep, and now we're in overtime and anything could happen, and just one win like this could spark a team out of the depths of hell, and they could go on a run to win a series. It's that easy to do sometimes, in a game like this where momentum is such a big deal. So Rochester probably wants to put this away so they can not think about it anymore.
Without a doubt. Especially with games coming back to back right now. They're boom, 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 and a series can flip flop in a matter of one night. Boom, you could be down 2 games, or the series could be over. It can happen so quick. It's definitely got to be in their heads right now, working in this overtime period, trying to close this series out. And it's a tall task. The Devils are no pushover.
Does anybody have any information on the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Penguins versus the Portland Pirates? I can't find anything on them, and basically what we're looking at is the Wolfpack have taken care of business tonight, won their series 4-0. Wilkes-Barre-Scranton's up 3-0 on the Pirates, so the Pirates are fighting for their playoff lives. The Devils are fighting for their playoff lives as they score the OT winner there and live to see another day. I don't know, did Binghamton, the Binghamton Senators, anyone know what happened in that first game?
That's the series that's been kind of quiet tonight. I haven't really heard too much coming out of Binghamton, as far as what happened in the first game or the second game here.
You give a final on that first game. I'm trying to remember what it was now.
I guess I must have missed that one.
Yeah.
But the Pirates, I'm not sure. The Pirates game, usually if it's quiet over there, it means the Pirates took care of business. That's been my experience this season. Is when they win, the stats will get put in at like the 23rd hour.
Right. Or 3 days later. Yep.
But yeah, you never know. I'm just looking through the I'm just looking through the chat here to see if there's any mention of it, but I don't see anything.
I tell you what, I think all the games are finished now. So again, we've seen San Diego close out tonight. The Wolfpack closed out the Phantoms after several OT games, and I'm not sure. I think the Sens were up 3-1 in that series. I'm not positive on that, but
tightest sweep ever.
Yeah, we've seen a couple close out, so we obviously we have some teams moving on, but it's been a fun couple of days, and certainly a lot of speculation early on about what was going to happen with Rockford after going down 2-0, but they come right back tonight. No surprise, I think, from them that they have evened this series up, and unfortunately, like we said, San Jose going down to a really good San Diego team might have been a sweep, but two good teams there, two good goaltending crews, and San Diego just is seemingly playing at the top of their game now.
Yeah, and we've got some series that are wrapping up tonight. We've got a couple sitting at 2-2. We have a playoff favorite in the Rampage down 3-1 to the extremely hot Condors, who have, for lack of a better phrase to use, have been playing playoff hockey for 4 weeks already. The Condors, and they're up 3-1 on a team that quite possibly could have won this whole thing, and you could be done after round one if they don't. They got to get 3 straight wins here. The goals cleaned up as well as the Wolfpack. Still waiting to find out what happened with the Senators and Crunch for sure. And the Pirates to see if they're still in it. Albany got their first win of the series tonight. It's been really fun to cover this, and unlike real hockey, we went from 2-0 series to series being finished, series that were down 2-0 being tied, series tied 1-1, now down 3-1. I mean, we saw a lot of stuff tonight, and it's Tuesday's a great night to do it because it's the first night of the series that has 2 games in it.
Well, yeah, and one of our questions coming into the playoffs here was, could the Condors keep the momentum going that they had at the end of the season? And so far, so good. It's proven that they really got to work in that week off, and they're picking up right where they left off. And it's they're going to be a tough team. They could be one of those teams that really gets hot at the right time, and they've got some serious offensive talent over there. And they could definitely be turning some heads here.
Well, listen, guys, final thoughts as we get ready to wrap up here, as we are finishing up our first live show during the playoffs. Let's just name one thing that stands out to you right now after watching the first 4 games. We'll start with let's start with Mac and what he's seen so far and watching the AHL and watching some of these playoff games in these series. What's your take on what you're seeing as far as the competition and the talent?
Of course, I got to be a little bit biased towards my CHL guys. You see some of these guys stepping up and actually playing very well for their team. Another thing is just don't count any team out. Any team on any given night can flip a series. Like I think Maranaconda said, they can flip a series at any moment. Don't count anybody out. Even though I am on the Ice Hogs, never played for them, but I will say my favorite team, my dark horse in the AHL playoffs will go to the Condors. I love this team, so keep an eye out for them. So that's as far as I go.
Yeah, Rhonda, what do you got?
Well, I think that what we're starting to see is. I mentioned the other day that the first round of the playoffs tends to be the most difficult, and we're seeing that with Rockford having trouble right out of the gates with the Griffins. the Wolfpack, they swept their series, but I must say that's got to be the closest sweep in LG history. If not, it's definitely got to be up there, because that series could easily be any other number: 3-1, 2-2, 3-1 the other way. What I think we're seeing here is teams emerge. The goals seem to be turning it on at the right time. The Rampage need to find their offensive stroke because as good as your goalies are in an EA Sports hockey game with Mooner and Tyler Loki being two of the best, you got to have offense to win these games. That's what we were talking about the other day, is how far can you really go with a goalie, and you need your whole team to step up in front of you. So I'm looking for the Rampage to get a big win in Game 5 and get some offensive support for their goaltenders. The Wolves and the Lake Erie Monsters, this series is playing out kind of just how we thought. It's going to be back and forth, probably all the way through Game 7. It's just going to be trading wins here and there for those guys. So Albany gets a big win to avoid the sweep from the Americans, and I'm really excited to see how this week plays out, because when we get to Saturday night's show, we're going to have a lot to discuss about what went down the final 3 games of all these series, and I really can't wait to discuss it. Thank you guys again for doing a Tuesday show. We'll be back next Tuesday again to do the same thing. It's always fun getting on, and my final thought for myself would be, Mystic, thank you very much for making an effort to come on our show tonight. It's something that we wanted to make happen at some point this year, and I'm glad on short notice we were able to get this done tonight. Believe you provide incredible insight, especially on the CHL side. You've done some very good scouting and know the players and the teams and how that's going to go, and are very involved. So keep doing what you're doing down there in the CHL, and anytime you want to come on or need us for anything or have questions or anything, you can contact us. We'll be there for you, man.
Yeah, before you start, Maranaconda, I forgot to add this one thing. I got too tunnel visioned on my thoughts on the AHL playoffs. I do want to thank each of you for letting me come on, even if like Burray's in the chat, even if it's in a limited role. This made me feel really special. You don't even know the impact. But I really wish that I could find some guys that I work well with in the CHL like you do. I know T-Sibs, I've told you privately, but this is the best platform I can put this out. You've been an inspiration for me, especially to bring it to the CHL. So has Vihai and Maranaconda. Y'all have been amazing. Good support. Always answer my questions when I have them. Y'all have been great people. And one more thing. I don't know if this is against the rules, but I don't know. I'm going to say it anyway. Leave your doors open for training camp. I'm going to get my virtual plane tickets to Hershey in the off season. So Maranaconda, just leave your leave your doors open.
Yeah, I think Mike's is probably open anyway most of the time. So
right.
Yeah.
I did just
Doors
quickly.
open.
I did just get an update. Barris said that I don't know what the situation was, but Binghamton lost both games tonight, so that series is even.
There it is. There it is. We have a 2-2 series tie over there. Well, I guess I'm going to say with my final thoughts real quick here, and I'm going to make it quick. My final thoughts are, I could seriously see, the San Diego Gulls putting together one heck of a run here. The Wolfpack took care of business tonight as well, in a really close series, but I think the San Diego Gulls really turned some heads early this week and really put together 4 very solid games against a very good San Jose team, and we're able to take them down. So I'm saying keep your eye on the sky and look out for those San Diego Gulls.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. And I just want to say I think the final thought I have is, wow. I mean, this has been a lot of fun to watch these games and watch these series. These guys are hats off to all the GMs and the AGMs, because they've done a lot of good work in getting their teams ready for this one. Even the teams that got swept, that they played hard in these. San Jose is a solid team. Just didn't work out for them this year. But and Perk's a good guy, and he's worked hard there to put his best team that he can put out there. But and obviously the Phantoms played well. Good work by all the management guys. You guys have put out good teams that made some good matches for us to watch. And special shout out to Chiz Nasty, who had to take over a team at the last minute and try and put something together. He's got his club back at 2-2, and they are ready to play the rest of the series. So thanks to everybody in the league for making this a lot of fun to watch this week, and the next couple of nights are going to be even more fun to see how some of these series finish up. At this point, I do want to thank Mac for coming on with us. Mystic Mac, you can hear him on the CHL side and listen to his shows and find out what's going on over there. A lot of good prospects that we'll wind up probably seeing in the AHL next year are playing in the CHL now. So take a watch over there and at the games and at what Mac puts together with his broadcasts every week. Thanks to Vihai Maranaconda again for everything you guys have done tonight, and this has been a lot of fun, boys. I don't know how you feel about it, but this is edge of the seat kind of broadcasting tonight.
For sure, without a
Yep.
question.
Yep.
We got a lot of games to go here, so keep grinding away, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Mystic, again, thanks for being on. And Sibs and Miranaconda, as always, thank you.
All right, guys, we'll see you on Saturday night with the regular show. We'll recap round 1 going into round 2. Thanks again, everyone. See you this weekend.